this. Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Watson from Rabobank. I'm going to talk today about how the soft drinks industry is becoming closer and closer with the coffee industry. And this is a topic near and dear to my heart. I've been a beverage analyst for 15 years. Over that time, I've covered coffee more and more closely. It's more and more my focus. But at the same time, coffee has become more and more tied into the general soft drinks landscape, sometimes quite explicitly. And the point of the presentation is so that you guys can understand and see how closely the trends in soft drinks are tied to the trends driving coffee consumption, and know that when you're planning for your own company, your own brands, that you really can just take a look at what's happening in soft drinks, walk up and down the aisle in Whole Foods, and you're going to get a lot of great input on what's driving consumers, because they are kind of the same consumers. If we look back and think a little historically about how these companies have come together and the sectors have come together, if we went back decades, we'd think the major coffee brands and supply chain was mostly siloed, or some of the brands were owned by Kraft or Sara Lee or Smuckers. These were companies, not beverage companies. And it might have been a mindset at the corporate level that coffee was a breakfast food, so it would make more sense to pair it up with a company that made a breakfast cereal. But that's changed. So why is Coke getting into coffee? For me, it's kind of a white space approach. So Coke looks now at the entire non-alcoholic landscape, sometimes alcohol too, we'll get there, and says, all right, where can I enter that I'm not? I want to be the number one or a strong number two in every single category. And as ready-to-drink coffee started to take off in the US, they said, okay, we probably need to be there. For Keurig, it was a little bit of a different thing. I mean, it was also the reverse, a coffee company getting into soft drinks. But they looked at it as a total beverage platform, right? So you're Keurig, you're looking at a company that makes soft drinks. You think, we have the same consumers with the same consumer need states, buying our products at the same points of sale. The synergies are natural. We're already kind of doing the same business, so it makes sense to put them together. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now in the landscape. So this is what Coke looks at. This is a view that's data from Euromonitor of the kind of existing non-alcoholic beverage landscape. So what you're seeing in blue is the current market share of that segment. Yellow would be the share of every new dollar coming into the market over the next 5 years. And so you'd think, all right, your Coca-Cola, the cola carbonates and juice are declining, right? So we want to find some areas that are growing. Those are declining. If you think they're probably high sugar, maybe a little less innovation if you're juice, whereas you get to some of the ones on the right side of the chart, and there's going to be a lot of innovation, a lot of functional ingredients, probably better for you, and that's kind of what our companies are generally moving to in this market. So here are some of the big trends that are driving what's going on in non-alc. And you might not know all of these to start, but I'll take you through them. And we're going to see what's going on in soft drinks and how that might tie into what's going on in coffee. The Great Convergence. This is a fairly new thing within my world. And it actually refers to, the two on the left here, refers to non-alcoholic companies getting into alcohol. It's kind of the last big barrier to break down in the beverage world, as lines have been blurring for a while. And it's very interesting. It's not only that you have this mindset right now for investors who are totally fine with companies going into categories far afield of what they're used to, and their own corporate strategy teams that have been working on this for years and have built up this knowledge. So it's getting much more institutionalized, but it's not it's a coincidence like that we'd see Topo Chico hard seltzer. So they're not just picking random categories, right? Coke would have picked this brand, Topo Chico, for a reason. This is a sparkling water brand with Mexican heritage. And they would have picked it because in Texas, one of the most popular bar calls was a Topo Tito's. and that's Topo Chico with Tito's vodka. And so Coke would know that their consumers are already going out into the alcohol market and requesting this product, right? So they'd say, why would I leave that sale on the table for for the bar to make it? I can take this in-house. The other side of it, as entire corporations are moving categories, brands can easily move categories as well. So Java, you're in energy. You know your consumers love you for what you are. You know you can bring them to the coffee side of the table. And as Starbucks, you know your consumer. You probably know how many of your consumers come in your stores and buy a non-coffee product. And you know that you can bring them over to the energy side just as well. So this is something, and what's really interesting about it is it kind of doubles the entire universe of who can play in every category, right? So if it's not just Coke and Pepsi and non-alcohol, but it's beer companies too, this gives you a lot more room to play. Molson Coors used to be Molson Coors Brewing Company. You'll notice it's Molson Coors Beverage Company. So an explicit statement of a new approach to their portfolio. These are 3 brands that they're now distributing, right? So we do have a big coffee brand here. And it's interesting because if you think about the amount of trucks and distribution muscle that Molson Coors and Anheuser-Busch have in the US, Anheuser-Busch is distributing Super Coffee, by the way. This is a massive new channel available to coffee companies and to the entire non-alc landscape. So when we think about the kind of walls being brought down in between these categories, it gives us a lot of room to play with who can take you to market and who could be your partner or your potential acquirer down the road. But I want to talk about health and wellness a little bit. So this and the next topic are kind of the 2 biggest things that are driving individual brands in the marketplace. And so health and wellness has been a trend forever. And you'll have noticed that as a country, we've made no strides in health and wellness. So I'm a little skeptical of the topic. So that's why I'm saying it's not health and wellness. But what we see in the market really powerful is permissible indulgence. So that means you wanted to drink a wine. Now they're going to give you a wine that has less sugar and less calories. You want to drink a hard seltzer. We're going to add some vitamin C to make you feel better. You wanted to eat red meat, but you think it's bad for the planet or your health. We're going to give you a plant-based version. Products that are doing this are finding a lot of success in the marketplace. And it's not about being healthy. Consumers want to consume what they want to consume. That may not have changed that much, and you need to give them a reason to get in. Super Coffee is a wonderful example in the coffee space. So you would take a Frappuccino, the unquestioned leader in the ready-to-drink coffee space, and you'd say, let's swap out the cream for MCT oil. Let's swap out the sugar for monk fruit. Then let's add a little bit of protein in, so this can be a recovery drink after your morning workout. And all of a sudden, you've got sort of a great challenger success story. Atomo might have gone a little too far, saying the product that you have to remove from coffee is the actual coffee. And I'm not so sure about that one. I think the real success would look like something like Body Armor. You're probably all familiar with this brand. They looked at Gatorade. They said, if we take a little bit of sugar out of Gatorade, if we take some of the artificial coloring, artificial ingredients out, we can take market share. And they've taken 15% market share in sports drinks. They sold to Coke for $5.5 billion this year. That's the kind of move that getting permissible indulgence does for you. It's a pretty powerful driver of sales. And the other side, so permissible indulgence is often about pulling an ingredient out of your drink to make a healthier version of it, or one that comes that way. There's another side of this that is adding a lot more ingredients in to be healthier. And if you walk up and down the aisle in a Whole Foods, you will see lots of drinks. I'm almost thinking about the one like Rebel on the right side with a laundry list of kind of fancy ingredients that they've added into their products. But there's a whole wide range. So kombucha is, the health properties are inherent in the product. Gatorade might just add protein. And the Driftwell shows you how far the company mindset is. This is a Pepsi beverage. It's a beverage designed around L-theanine. It's supposed to help you sleep and relax. The product was designed around the idea of creating a relaxation beverage. So it was functionality first, and then they tried to come up with a liquid and a brand around that to give you an idea of how powerful that is for companies that they want to hit the functionality side of things. But all of these really can play into coffee as well. So the Taika beverage probably looks a lot like the Rebel coffee we saw from the last one. If I could somehow magically rotate the can in there, you'd see a list of fancy ingredients and their supposed health benefits. And there's kind of 5 of them on the side. So it's going to look exactly like any other trendy non-alcoholic product, except it's pure coffee. So that's like a really direct way to play. But what's more interesting, because RTDs have always been able to mimic a lot of the trends in soft drinks much more easily, it's a natural comparison, is that we're seeing these trends come to other parts of the coffee world. So between the Vita Cup, getting this in your K-Cups, and there are challenges here. I've spoken to people in the industry who have tried to ask their co-manufacturers who do their pods for them to be able to add a number of extra ingredients, and it's not always that easy yet. So there are a lot of hurdles that the coffee industry in other categories might need to get past, but there's definite consumer interest. And to see Costa doing this in an actual cafe where you can get added shots. And I've seen other pictures online of places where you can get an extra immunity shot on the side that you can add to your coffee. I think there's a huge opportunity for the coffee world to find ways that aren't RTD to get extra functional benefits in. And if you think about what a juice shop looks like, or just what every other non-alc drink looks like, there's such a demand for that type of product that I think it'll be very interesting to see what the coffee world can come up with in the next couple of years. And then I want to talk about because some of this is finding a product that you already have and you want to say, I want to bring it to some other consumption occasion. The entire hard seltzer segment in the US, just like a $10-15 billion segment, simply exists because people wanted to drink light cocktails, but they wanted to drink them in a beer occasion where you could just open a can, you could bring it to like a pool party or a beach. There's $15 billion worth of consumption right there, and all you had to do is take the product and put it in a can. So, ready to drink cocktails have taken advantage of that. It's not always so easy. We've seen kind of what's happened with some of the specialty instant companies. But there is a lot going on, a lot of investment from the non-alc side in these brands. So in the last year, we've seen Nestle acquire a brand called Nuun, N-U-U-N, that's tablets and powders, kind of in the sports drink hydration space. And we've seen a company, Waterdrop out of Austria, raise, I think, $70 million in their Series B. And they do, droplets added into your water for flavor and for functionality. Now, some of these things have been around, droplets into your water have been around for a long time, but there is something coming back around these, and a lot of it has to do with sustainability and packaging. And so you're kind of taking advantage of people trying to get away from buying a full package so you can buy a little dropper, much less waste. And so we've seen it in coffee. So we've got Javi, we've got Jot here, getting into that kind of coffee concentrate where you can add this. You can make a pure coffee, but you can also just add this into any non-alc beverage that you want that you're already doing. And that's a very interesting way to do it. Coffee obviously has the problem here of adding too much caffeine from a very concentrated place that it has to watch out for. But I think it's very interesting to think about all the coffee consumers out there that wouldn't drink a coffee because there isn't the right coffee offering in that shape, vessel, that goes to that certain place. And coffee's done pretty well getting everywhere, but there's still a lot of room to go. And then other categories also want to bring coffee in, right? So coffee, provides something that you can't get if you're just gonna add caffeine sometimes. So, I think it's very interesting that the snacking industry, right? If you want to go for that afternoon boost, you would turn to coffee first, because I think just adding pure caffeine doesn't perhaps have the health connotations that adding coffee would. I love the Dunkin' example. The morning protein, like if you work out in the morning and you're gonna have a protein shake, you're probably gonna have a coffee anyway. Companies have been learning how to combine these, and I've always thought of it as a ready-to-drink option where you'd have that protein added in. But to see it coming from the kind of the supplements aisle, thinking you can add coffee in there, and Coke obviously doing it directly in their product. And I think I said to someone I didn't know what quality of coffee went in all these products, and they told me some of them are actually very good. I don't know if we're at, kind of micro lot levels of coffee, but I think there's a room for products that are going to also take out coffee that's going to provide them something very special and very unique, and it might not be in those, it might be in the next generation of product. And some of that gets to coffee importing that credibility. Now, I have to be honest, I never thought I'd be on stage talking about credibility and using a product from Bang called Delish Strawberry Kiss, but it kind of works. The name itself tells you that they're a brand that just goes all out and does not care what you think. But where their credibility comes from, this is a company that started as a weightlifting supplement. Recently, the head of Anheuser-Busch in the US said he was looking for new non-alcoholic brands. So already this is like the head of ABI in the US looking for non-alc brands himself. And he went to a GNC to go up and down the aisles to see what brands were there. And there's like 4 or 5 different energy drinks that have all come from that aisle. What credibility does it have? Well, that's a ingredient first, a performance first company. Before they come to kind of the liquid beverage side. So when a consumer sees it, this is super creatine on the top, you get this feeling that this company has totally designed this product around giving you the most for your money. The other side of credibility is kind of using that human connection, right? And so this Live Wire, one of the many new ready-to-drink cocktails out there, all of their cocktails are made by a specific bartender. So they find a bartender that has a signature drink, they work with that person to make a ready-to-drink cocktail version of it, they put their name right on the top, so you're getting somebody, like a famous bartender's drink. I wanted to include credibility because this is exactly where coffee plays so nicely, right? So you've got Cometeer on the right side with an entire tasting box of George Howell, and they've only combined, with name roasters, and I just think it's someplace they can really play. But we should see more of this using that credibility of specialty coffee in a number of other products because it has so much to offer, both in terms of a name, but in terms of the actual provenance and origin. So kind of like both of those products on the left side. Last one, as we talk about all these wonderful new things that we're trying to introduce to consumers, a pushback we often get is like, okay, but these products all cost a lot and we don't want to go in way above everybody else in the market. So this is just something I pulled all CPI data. And you can see that the price of coffee for consumers in the US has absolutely not only not kept pace with inflation and other food and bev, it hasn't kept pace with soft drinks over the last, there's really a split right around 2015, 2016, and that's when Coke announced a new strategy of pricing. There's room for pricing in coffee products all along the value chain. So keep that in mind as we think about what we can do. With that, I'm gonna end here. I'll do some Q&A with Giannis. And a reminder, so we have a podcast, Liquid Assets, and my email is there, so you can always email me with questions.